Hi there, and welcome to the Daily Gardener, an almanac of garden history, literature, and small botanical joys. I'm Jennifer Ebling, and today is July 7th. July has no sympathy. The weeds don't care how hot it is. The flowers don't wait for cooler weather. And if you skip a few days, the garden lets you know. The editors of American Homes and Gardens understood this back in 1914. They wrote, "There is, instead, much to be done in the July garden. All flowers should be picked the minute they show any signs of withering. Weeding ceases to become hateful drudgery if the garden maker does not put it off. But if he does, there will be more hours of it." Some garden advice never gets old, and July always makes the same bargain. When it comes to weeds, you can spend a few minutes each day or an entire afternoon next week. Here's today's garden history. It was on this day in 1799 that the English botanist William Curtis died in London. He was 53. His friend James Edward Smith described him in a single sentence. The apothecary was soon swallowed up in the botanist, and the shop exchanged for a garden. That was William Curtis. He was born in the Hampshire town of Alton and apprenticed to his grandfather, an apothecary. He moved to London to learn the trade and discovered that he cared more about plants than the medicines they became. So, at 25, he left the shop for Chelsea Physic Garden, and a few years later, he began publishing Flora Londinensis, a magnificent work celebrating the wild plants growing within 10 miles of London. Not orchids, not tropical rarities, just the plants people walked past every day. It was beautiful, and almost no one bought it. Gardeners wanted the latest exotics, not English chickweed. So, William tried something different. In 1787, he published a small, affordable magazine filled with hand-colored illustrations, practical advice, and the answer to a simple question: what is this plant, and how do I grow it? It was called the Botanical Magazine, and it was an immediate success. More than 3,000 copies sold of every issue, and even George Washington subscribed from Mount Vernon. William later joked, "The Flora Londinensis brought me praise. The magazine brought me pudding." Praise for the beautiful book. Pudding for the one people actually read. William Curtis died on this day in 1799, but his magazine never did. Today, Curtis's Botanical Magazine is the longest-running botanical journal in the world. And that's not a bad legacy for a man who traded a shop for a garden. And it was on this day in 1713 that Bishop Henry Compton died at Fulham Palace in London. He was 81. When he died, the gardens at the palace held more than 1,000 exotic plants. Nothing else like it existed in England. And although Henry Compton became Bishop of London in 1675, his responsibilities reached far beyond the city. The Bishop of London oversaw the Anglican churches throughout Britain's American colonies, Virginia, Maryland, New York, and Barbados. And Henry quickly realized that that network could carry more than just sermons. And so he began appointing clergy who also loved plants. Before long, seeds, pressed specimens, and drawings were crossing the Atlantic, all destined for one place, his garden at Fulham Palace. One of Henry's most devoted collectors was a young minister named John Bannister. Henry sent him to Virginia in 1679, and for 13 years, John preached, explored, and collected plants. Among the treasures he sent home was the Sweet Bay magnolia, the first magnolia grown in Europe. Then, in 1692, while collecting plants along the James River, John bent down to examine a specimen when another member of the expedition mistook him for game and shot him. He was 42. John's specimens made it safely back to London, and for his part, Henry turned Fulham into a living memorial to his friend's sacrifice. Henry proudly grew trees from the seeds John had sent, like the scarlet oak and the honey locust, and he loved delighting travelers and scholars with other rarities like sweet gums, tulip trees, red maples, coffee trees, and American azaleas and magnolias, plants England had never seen before. A governor in Virginia called it his paradise at Fulham. It was a paradise. When Henry Compton died on this day in 1713, he had spent nearly everything he owned on his garden, his parish, and those in need. Today, the gardens at Fulham Palace are once again growing many of the very plants that first arrived there more than 3 centuries ago. In today's Unearthed Words, we remember the American poet and novelist Margaret Walker, born on this day, July 7th, in 1915. Margaret spent most of her life in Jackson, Mississippi, where she taught at Jackson State University and founded the Margaret Walker Center, dedicated to preserving African American history and culture. But she also loved to garden. And in 1957, she served as president of Jackson's Spade and Fork Garden Club. But it wasn't simply a garden club. The members grew flowers and vegetables, but they also organized voter registration drives, delivered Christmas baskets, and visited hospital veterans. For them, a well-kept garden wasn't merely beautiful, it was hopeful. Years later, while talking with a journalist about her life, Margaret suddenly looked across the room at her plants. She smiled, and then she said, "Oh, my corn plant is so pretty, isn't it? It's just doing so well there. The light is perfect." And then she began pointing out some of her other favorites, her Norfolk pine, her sansevieria, along with the flowering plants that her friends had brought her while she was recovering from an illness, including a gorgeous bouquet from Alice Walker and her daughter. Only afterward did Margaret return to talking about books, awards, and history. And I love that. After a lifetime of changing the world, she was still delighted by a happy houseplant. It's time to grow that garden library with today's book, Gardens of the Gilded Age by Jana Milbacher. Historic American Gardens Week continues on the Daily Gardener, and that means that all of this week's book recommendations feature fantastic American gardens. And today's selection is a brand new book. Between 1870 and 1920, America's wealthiest families created extraordinary gardens along the East Coast in places like Newport, Kykuit, Vizcaya, Namur, Longwood, Wave Hill, and the Ringling. As for the author, Jana Milbacher is a garden designer, lecturer, and longtime student of historic landscapes. For this book, she visited 30 of America's great Gilded Age estates, pairing historic photographs with images of the gardens today. But what I admire most is where she chose to place her attention, not only on the families who commissioned these landscapes, but on the head gardeners and the crews who planted, pruned, and cared for them season after season. The owners imagined the gardens, but the gardeners made them real. Gardens of the Gilded Age by Jana is a beautiful reminder that every great garden has hands behind the vision. And finally, here's something sweet to ignite the little botanic spark in your heart. It was on this day in 1993 that the American landscape architect Lester Collins died in Sharon, Connecticut. He was 79. For more than 50 years, Lester tended a remarkable garden called Innisfree in New York's Hudson Valley. At its center is a lake, and around it are dozens of what Collins called cup gardens. Imagine a small clearing, or a pool, or a single tree framed so carefully that it feels like its own world. Step inside, and everything else disappears. The original cup gardens were created by the artist Walter Beck, who found inspiration in ancient Chinese landscape paintings. As a young man, Lester Collins came to work with Beck, and he later traveled through China, Japan, and India, studying the art of garden making. When Walter Beck died, Lester inherited the garden. But instead of changing it, he connected it. He linked the cup gardens with a winding path around the lake, so visitors moved quietly from one small world to the next. And he spent the rest of his life refining that walk. Years before, William Butler Yeats had written the poem that gave the garden its name. The poem ends with these words: "I shall have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow." If you ever visit Innisfree, take your time along the paths. Peace, after all, still drops slowly. As we close the show today, try not to worry about finishing the July garden. Just tend the peace that's waiting for you today. Those little moments of care matter, and tomorrow will have its own work. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener, and remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day.